Imagine refusing to join an HOA, only to have fake cops show up at your door, waving bogus badges and threats. That's exactly what happened to me. But here's the twist. The entire HOA office, their so-called headquarters of power, was sitting illegally on land I owned. The morning air smelled like fresh motor oil and damp earth as I stepped out onto the porch of my grandmother's old farmhouse. The gravel crunched beneath my boots, and for a moment, I felt peace. My land had been in the family since 1945, a sanctuary where I rebuilt engines and tried to rebuild myself after losing my wife. But that peace shattered the day a white Escalade rolled up my driveway, and the woman inside stepped out like she owned the world. Clipboard in hand, sunglasses flashing, she introduced herself as Delilah Hutchcraft, president of the Willowbrook HOA. Without hesitation, she informed me I owed $3,200 in HOA fees. My gut twisted. What HOA? I'd never signed anything. She rattled off violations about my barn, my work truck, even my grass. I told her flat out, "Ma'am, I'm not part of your HOA." She smiled sharp as broken glass. "Every property here falls under our jurisdiction. Pay up, or we'll file a lien on your home." Her perfume lingered after she stormed off, but so did her threat. That was the moment I knew peace was over, and a war for my land had just begun. 2 days later, the knock on my door didn't sound right. It wasn't firm like a sheriff's, but hollow, tapping plastic against wood. When I opened it, 2 men stood there, polo shirts, clipboards, and shiny badges that looked like something you'd buy at a toy store. "Mr. Kellerman," the heavier one announced, puffing out his chest. "We're with County Code Enforcement. You're operating illegally here." His partner kept clicking a pen nervously, eyes darting everywhere but mine. They handed me citations, noise violations, unpermitted structures, even commercial activity in a residential zone. But something smelled wrong. My late wife had worked for the county, and I'd seen Real IDs. These weren't them. So I asked, calm and steady, "Which department did you say you're with?" The skinny one mumbled something about environmental zoning before they bolted back to their white pickup, peeling off so fast they almost lost a clipboard. I memorized the plate number and dialed the county clerk. "We don't have an environmental zoning enforcement department," she said flatly. That's when I knew Delilah had crossed from petty threats into criminal territory. Fake cops, fake citations, and a very real felony. That night, I spread papers across my kitchen table. My grandmother's old deed, property surveys, tax receipts yellowed with age. If Delilah thought I'd fold, she picked the wrong man. Every record told the same story. This land had been mine since before Willowbrook Estates even existed. But in the HOA's incorporation papers I pulled from the county archives, something didn't add up. Their boundaries seemed to stretch farther than the subdivision itself. The wording was vague, sloppy, like someone cut corners when they filed. And one detail made my stomach drop. The coordinates of their office building sat suspiciously close to my southern property line. Could it be possible? Had they built their headquarters on land they didn't own? I couldn't prove it yet, but the suspicion alone lit a fire in me. I called a surveyor the next morning. "Bring your best equipment," I told him. "I think I'm about to uncover something big." Meanwhile, Delilah wasn't backing down. Flyers started showing up around the neighborhood claiming I was a nuisance, a threat to property values. What she didn't know was that every lie only pushed me closer to the truth. The smear campaign spread like wildfire. Neighbors I'd never met whispered behind hedges. Next-door posts accused me of planning to turn my land into a salvage yard. One morning, I walked outside to find my mailbox ripped from the ground. The post splintered like a toothpick. Delilah wasn't just trying to intimidate me. She wanted to break me. She parked in my driveway, strutted around claiming it was common area, and even brought a landscaping crew to replace my mailbox with a generic HOA-approved one. But she underestimated me. I called the post office immediately. "Ma'am," the supervisor said, "tampering with a mailbox is a federal offense. Document everything." So I did. I installed security cameras, visible ones for show and hidden ones for insurance. And sure enough, within days, I caught Delilah and her lackeys prowling near my workshop at night, flashlights sweeping across my tools. The footage showed her directing men to slash my truck tires and spray paint over my cameras. What she didn't know was that my hidden cameras captured every second. She thought fear would silence me. Instead, she handed me proof that would bury her. The surveyor arrived on a foggy Tuesday morning, his GPS gear beeping as he measured every inch of my land. By noon, he waved me over, eyebrows raised. "Mr. Kellerman, you'll want to see this." According to modern GPS readings, my property extended 30 feet further south than my old survey showed. That strip of land wasn't empty. It was where the Willowbrook HOA office proudly stood, half of the building sitting squarely on my property. I felt the ground shift beneath me. Delilah hadn't just harassed me. She had built her empire on stolen soil. I spent the evening cross-checking maps, deeds, and county records. Every document told the same story. The HOA headquarters was trespassing. And if they'd filed incorporation papers using false boundaries, every contract signed inside those walls might be invalid. The stakes had just exploded. This wasn't about $3,200 in bogus fees anymore. It was about fraud, theft, and trespass on a scale that could take the entire HOA down. For the first time, I felt the tide turning. With proof in hand, I reached out to Elias. Jake Morrison, the HOA treasurer, confessed he'd noticed financial oddities, landscaping contracts that never happened, legal fees for cases that never existed. Mrs. Patterson, my elderly neighbor, brought over historical photos of my grandmother's farm stretching across the very ground where Delilah's office stood. My attorney, David Blackwood, leaned across my kitchen table as we spread the evidence. "Marcus, this isn't just a property dispute. This is embezzlement, fraud, and trespass. If we file a quiet title action, we can trap her legally. She won't escape." The sheriff's department grew interested too. Detective Williams called after reviewing my camera footage. "We've seen similar cases. If she's running harassment to push owners out, that's organized fraud. Keep documenting." Every document, every photo, every video became a weapon. Together we built a war room, stacks of binders and maps piled high like ammunition. Delilah thought she was untouchable, but we were preparing to pull the ground out from under her. Literally. The HOA meeting was standing room only. Over 200 neighbors packed into the community center, whispers bouncing off the walls. At the front, Delilah sat stiff, flanked by loyal board members, her perfume filling the room like smoke before a fire. I walked in with my attorney, manila folders under my arm. Gasps rippled through the crowd as I stepped up to speak. "Neighbors," I began calmly, "you deserve to know the truth. According to a certified county survey, this office, your HOA headquarters, was built on land my family has owned since 1945. I held up the survey, official seal glinting under fluorescent lights. Murmurs erupted. Delilah leapt to her feet, shrieking about forgeries. But then I pressed play on my phone. Her voice filled the room. $50,000 to make this disappear, Marcus." The silence that followed was electric. Every neighbor now heard her bribe attempt with their own ears. Detective Williams stepped forward from the back, badge visible. "Delilah Hutchcraft, you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and obstruction of justice." The metallic click of handcuffs echoed like a gunshot. For the first time in months, I felt justice breathing down her neck instead of mine. Delilah was let out in handcuffs that night, her empire of lies collapsing in front of the very people she'd stolen from. Neighbors who once believed her lies shook my hand. Some even apologized for doubting me. Mrs. Patterson's eyes shone with pride as she whispered, "Your grandmother would be proud, Marcus." Weeks later, the HOA dissolved under court order. Homeowners voted to rebuild a transparent, fair association. Families reclaimed their voices, and the stolen funds were ordered back through restitution. As for me, I stood on my porch one quiet morning, coffee steaming in my hand, watching kids play soccer on the old HOA lawn. The laughter carried across my land, no longer shadowed by threats or fear. I hadn't just defended my property. I'd exposed corruption and given an entire community its freedom back.